All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Scott Sazen, account manager here with Moldex3D in Northern America, and going to be a host today on today's webinar. We're going to be taking a look at our new user interface called Studio and some of the features and functionality within that. All right. So when it comes to running a simulation in Moldex3D, we got a series of steps or workflow, if you have it, kind of a process, starting with the bringing in of a model, doing the meshing, selecting a material. You can set up different process parameters, select what kind of analysis you want to run, and then review the results and generate reports. So up till now, the Moldex3D software has been split pretty much into two packages, two applications. One of them called Designer, which handles the modeling and meshing aspect, and then that meshed model would be brought into Project. We would continue with the pre-processing, where you select a material, process and type of analysis and launch the analysis, and then you would do the post-processing, reviewing the results and generating reports within Project. So going forward, and what we currently have is what's called Moldex3D Studio, and in essence, what Studio is doing is it's combining the two applications, Designer and Project, into one new, improved, easy-to-use interface. All right, so the Moldex3D Studio, what it is a comprehensive analysis platform. So again, you're able to do the pre and post processing all within the same application. And then it's also a very intuitive interface. It has a nice ribbon-style menu, tree structures. We'll get into what it looks like in a little bit. But it's a much cleaner looking platform, easy to use, and it allows for a more efficient process for setting up and completing simulations. So just a couple notes as to where we are. So this kind of covers some of the aspects of Moldex3D's R17 version of Studio, which will be released this coming within this year here. By Q2 maybe of 2019 here. We're currently at R16. So Studio, if you're a current user of Moldex3D and you're using Designer and Project, you should have access to Studio as well under R16. However, it does have doesn't have the full functionality, if you will, and so a lot of that functionality is going to be added in R17. So come R17 Project will we're going to kind of phase out the maintenance and support of R17, and it's going to end up being replaced by Studio, and really our focus is going to be on supporting and continue further developing the Studio application. So just a couple of the benefits of having the pre and post processing integrated. Ultimately, you don't have the back and forth between two applications. You're not doing file transfers. You're not jumping back and forth between two programs. Everything's being handled right within a single application. It just allows for a more consistent and a more streamlined workflow between those pre-processing and post-processing activities. So taking a look at some of the capabilities of Studio, we'll kind of break this down. We'll look at some of the pre-processing activities that start with the modeling and the meshing. So for those users that are currently using Designer for this pre-processing, very similar. The workflow is basically the same, very similar screens on some of these. You're going to be importing a CAD file, preferably a step file. Seems to come in the cleanest into Moldex3D, but we do have the options to bring in some other files. We also have the mold wizards that are still available. This is a great tool within Moldex3D, having like the gate wizards that are shown here on the right, where you're able to select kind of a predefined 3D gate. You can change the land length, you can change the gate diameter, all within the application, but you have these gates that you can select and basically drop right onto the part where you want to gate. We also have the runner wizards. We can create a runner layout within the application, as well as the mold base and the cooling channel wizards. Again, similar to the runner wizard, you can create cooling channel layouts right within the Moldex3D application. And as far as the meshing goes, again, it's very similar to what you're currently used to in Designer. Studio does offer it basically supports both the eDesign meshing for those users that are still on the eDesign product, and also the newer current meshing capability of our boundary layer mesh, the BLM meshing, as well as the hexa-based meshing for the runner and the cooling channels. This is just a little animation showing kind of a screenshot of the interface itself. This is a model has been brought in, a gate using the gate wizard and the runner wizard. You're able to bring in and place, in this case, like a tunnel gate and a cold runner onto the part. Be able to change diameters, lengths right within the application. You can see going along the top, it's a nice, again, that ribbon style format. Nice workflow where you can do your modeling, do your meshing. You'll be able to review the results, as we'll see later on, all within the same application. So here's the meshing part of it. Once the model is brought in, and generate the mesh. It's going to go through, generate the surface mesh of the part, and then create the solid mesh of the part and the runner. And then you do a final check once that mesh is created. Goes through, it saves the file. And the nice thing about Studio is you don't have to now exit Designer and get into another application such as Project and transfer that file. The file is saved and it's ready for use. So you can go back to the main menu and start creating the project tree, where you would select your material, process, and analysis. And we'll just take a quick look at some of those features as well. So as far as selecting the material, we still have our material wizard, the Moldex3D data bank of about 7,500 materials and growing. You can see in the upper left kind of a screenshot of what that wizard looks like. The plastic materials are sorted by generic material type, and then by manufacturer, and then by grade. And then on the right, or the window, has all the different material properties for those particular grades. We have everything from thermoplastics, thermosets, fiber-filled materials, amorphous, crystalline, just a whole range of materials within our database for all different applications. And then as far as the process type goes, so right now, if you are playing around with Studio and R16, the only process that is currently supported is the conventional injection molding process. In R17, when that's released, we're going to be adding the capability for these other processes that we have add-on modules for. So, for example, the powder injection metal molding, foam injection molding, chemical foaming. We have some compression molding applications, injection compression and compression molding will be supported in R17, as well as gas assist, water assist. And then we have multi-material co-injection, bi-injection applications are going to be supported as well. As far as IC packaging and resin transfer molding, currently those will not be able to be run or set up within R17, but they can be run in project and then viewed in Studio. So it's kind of a work in progress. And then on the analysis side, so we still are going to support the parallel processing to help with speed and efficiency of running the solver for these simulations. Also, the remote and cloud computing options will be available as well. Of course, the flow, pack, cool, and warp analysis is supported. Optics, we have some other processes in here, as you can see. Fiber prediction. Number 6, quick flow, just touch upon that. That's a new feature within Studio that was not available before. Quick flow is it's a nice new feature that allows you to bring in a model, select a gate location or multiple gate locations, and then basically run a quick flow. You'd select quick flow is the option on the analysis type. And it's going to run through and it's going to run a filling analysis at a fraction of the time it would for a normal filling analysis. You know, it's not going to take into account all the temperatures and pressures and all the details, but it's going to give a real good indication of how the part's filling out, where you're going to see maybe, you know, flow hesitations or knit lines. Is the part going to fill out itself, you know, completely? You're going to get a short shot. And then allow you to go back in, change the gate locations or add gates or whatnot, and then run, you know, you can run a series of these quick flow analyses, trying to pin down maybe where the ideal gate locations are going to be at a fraction of the time as if you would have to run it with the the typical standard filling analysis. Then once you have the gate locations where you want them and things look like they're filling out okay, then you can go in and run that the actual analysis. So it's a nice new feature, especially on maybe larger parts that have multiple gates, trying to see how the flow of all those gates is going to interact with each other. And then in R17, we also have some new capabilities that are listed here. Some predictions as far as barrel effects on melt behavior, dynamic machine characteristics, some flow fiber and flow VE supported, pin movement and venting. I'll touch upon those two in a little bit. Two of the items that are not currently in plan for the R17 is stress, which includes core shift capability, and IMD, the in-mold decorating, is not slated for this R17, but those two are in the works for future release. That's another short little animation here showing kind of the process, selecting a material. You can use, we have the recently used or user data bank, or you can open up the material wizard to select the material. You have part inserts or mold inserts. You can select the different materials for those, attribute those based on what the material is. Process wizard, this is going to look very similar as to what you're currently used to in project. You can go through and modify any of the process conditions with regards to times and temperatures and pressures. and then the analysis, it's going to give you a pull-down menu of the different types of analysis, based on what features you have in there. Running, whether it's just a fill only or a fill pack or the full, full pack cool warp. And then you launch the analysis right within this application as well. So venting, touch upon this for a minute here. So we do have capabilities coming up in R17 in the studio for being able to use CAD tool within Studio to be able to create these lines or curves on the part and then specify those as vents. And, I'll play this as I'm talking about it, but basically you can pick different surfaces on the part. If you want to look at venting in certain areas of the part, again, you can create a line using the line tool, doing it 2 different places here, and then you'll be able to attribute that line as a vent. Go into the venting tab. And you can name that. You can give it a different color. You can select set the width and the height of that vent, and then it'll, when it runs the analysis, it's going to take into account that specific attribute for the venting in that area. Nice new feature. Pin movement. So we're going to have the capability of simulating pin movement as well. So in addition to just open and close, or doing like a sequential valve gating, where you just have the valve pins open to close, we're also able to look at not only the time but also maybe the stroke of the pin, so you can get a better indication of how plastic is flowing in that area around the pin, based on the diameter of the pin, the diameter of flow bores, the stroke of the pin. This is showing on the left if you have like a setup sheet from a sequential valve gate application. You can take that data and basically duplicate that within the Moldex3D application, both the values and the graphs. So we're going to have this capability of better analyzing and the effects of valve pin movement. So we'll go into a little bit on the post-processing, take a look at some of the results and reporting functionality. So when it comes to the results, some of the new items that are going to be added to R17 that are not currently in the current version, having the ISO contour display, different XY plots, having the shrinkage compensation capability, being able to export out a warp model, and also this anchor plane functionality, which we can take a look at in a few minutes as well. A couple of things that are in the works that are not going to be supported in this next version, but are continually being looked at with our R&D group is roundness and flatness results as well, capabilities of analyzing that. Well, this is a busy slide. So just a quick overview. This is kind of workflow of inspecting the results. So you can visualize the filling. We have the melt front animation, so you can play an animation. You can jump through time steps of the animation. You can look at certain, go to a specific percentage of fill to visualize the melt front animation. We have this preferred view angle functionality, which we'll get to in a minute as well. That's a nice feature that we've added. ISO contour, you can look at kind of like a map view of the part, get a good indication when you're looking at the fill pattern where there might be flow hesitations or race tracking. And then we still, just like in project, support the clipping and the slicing functions, where everything we have modeled in Moldex3D is in 3D. We're able to basically section and take a look at any area of the part in the X, Y, or Z planes, and really get a good indication or a good representation of what's happening on the inside of the part as well when it comes to temperatures and pressures and shear and whatnot. And then we'll touch on this too. We have probes where you can select a probe to get basically an instant value at a particular location, whether it's, again, temperature or pressure. Just play this little animation here. So this is going to go through just kind of some general results. This is the melt front time, melt front animation. Then you can play the animation. In the settings, you can change the speed of how that's filling, how the animation is playing. You can look at air traps. You can look at weld lines. Basically everything that you're able to look at now within the Moldex3D package. Under the packing phase, we're looking at pressure here. You can use the clipping function, which basically takes a slice through the part, and then you can move that slice in that direction. Temperature. So this is the temperature result. And then utilizing the slicing function, very similar to the clipping function. You can have multiple planes, and again, just to give a better view of what's going on inside the part. And then the warpage, similar to the capabilities we have now. We have the deformation functionality. You can change the scale factor just to get a better visual of how the part is warping, the trend of the warp. So you can change that scale, and you can play an animation for that as well. So here's a little bit on that preference view angle. So we have standard views within, kind of pre-configured within the Moldex3D software. We have this perspective view that you can rotate it around to whatever angle you want. And then, as you can see here, we have like the top, bottom, side views. So if there's a particular perspective view that you want to kind of set as a favorite, or you want to kind of use for comparison, you can basically rotate the part to that orientation, add it as a view, as what's called my view. You can have multiple views. You can go in, you can edit, add, delete, change the name. And basically what it allows you to do is when you're going through looking at any of the results, if you want to go back to that particular view, you just pull down the pull-down menu, click on your view, and it's going to snap it right back to your preferred view. ISO contour. This is functionality that we currently have. It's also going to be, of course, within Studio. Again, this is looking at melt front time, and you can change these contour lines. You can change the number of contour lines, and basically what you're looking for is if those lines are nice, evenly spaced. It's a pretty uniform flow pattern. If you have an area of those lines that are getting kind of clustered together, it's going to indicate more of a flow hesitation area. So it's just another visual effect to see how the flow pattern might be throughout the part. Here's the clipping function. So this, with the clipping function, you can select a plane in either of the three directions, the X, Y, or Z direction. You can select one or all three of them, and basically you can select where you want that plane to be. You can move it by clicking on the arrows like it is now. You can drag on the plane itself and move it. And again, you can get a good good visual as to what's happening in the center of the part. This is a temperature result. You can have multiple planes. So similar to clipping, we have the slicing function. Again, you can have those 3 orientations, but this allows you to set up multiple planes within any of those 3 directions. And you can set up multiple planes in more than one direction as well. And basically, it's just another visual tool, visual aid to see what's going on in the cross section of the part. And with that, you can do videos as well. So if you wanted to create a video for a report, you have the video animation function. So this is using the probe functionality. So again, doing using the clipping tool, basically taking a slice through the part, and then using the probe feature, be able to basically click anywhere on your part or runner, locate a probe. It's going to give you an instant value right at that location. Here we're looking at pressure. So you can select as many points as you want, and you can get a kind of a numerical values on different areas of the part instantaneously with these probes. And then once you have those probes set, you can use that to create like a distribution curve. There's a distribution button. You can create a group of all those 4 or 5 probes, and it'll create a distribution curve based on those 5 points. Yeah, this is so right now the orientation is backwards. So yeah, just rotating it around, and then you can match up probe 1 on the left with probe 1 on the graph. Same thing with probe 5, and it just gives you another visual effect for analyzing data. And these probes can be used for pressure, temperature, like the shear rates, shear stresses. Can change the names, can change the axes, titles. And then similar, we can do like a history curve as well. So based on that probe, you can do it over time. So just plotting the history curve of each one of those probes over time. Again, you can change the titles, change the colors. A lot of functionality within each of these little windows. Yeah, so warp, the scale factor for warp. We saw a little bit of this in kind of the overview video clip, but basically you can use the deformation tool and then change the scale factor. And this just allows you to get a better view as to what's happening trend-wise with regards to warp. how the part's warping. You can look at it in the X, Y, and or Z direction, and get a better indication of how that part is warping. This is set at a scale factor of 5. Not to say the part's going to warp that much, but again, just a visual. Sometimes it's hard to see on a 1-to-1 scale what the warpage is. So by being able to adjust the scale factor, you're able to get a better visualized picture of it, image of it. And then be able to export out a warped model. So again, using that deformation tool, we have the export to form model feature. You can export out typically a SDL file. You can do it as a positive warp model. You can do it as a negative or reverse warp model, and use that to compare to CAD data. And this is functionality that's currently available as well, but also supported within Studio. So anchor plane, I believe, is a new function. I know compare is, so this kind of combines both of those. So the anchor plane allows the user to basically set a datum on the part. So you can pick 3 points and create this datum plane. You can use it as a reference plane when comparing maybe different results. Selecting 3 different points, and you can see that this plane is going to get formed. And then within Studio, which is new, this is not something that was available within Project, is we have the capability of looking at 2 or 4, one like it's shown here, or 2 windows or 4 windows, where you can look at multiple results. So there's the compare button. So this is showing comparing 2 results at the same time. So this is a nice feature that we didn't have before, where you can select either a different result within the same run, or in this case, looking at kind of the same result in 2 different runs and being able to compare those side by side. You can set the sync angle and the scale so that both are kind of rotating around and you're looking at the same scale for both results to get a good indication as to maybe how one result compares to the other. And again, we also have this in the compare button. You can select 4 windows as well, and you can hide that tree over on the left, so you're able to get more image of the part. So you can collapse that tree on the left. So again, we get the same anchor plane set for both of these parts, showing the warpage total displacement, and basically able to compare the warpage from, in this case, run 1 to run 6 of this particular part. And you can see the difference in warpage trend from one to the other. Nice feature with the compare button. Before, in order to really look at 2 different results, you had to get out of one run and open up another one. And this is nice where you can do it right within the same application. And then the reporting function. So we still have our reporting tool. Some of the new features that are going to be in R17 that are currently not in the current version of Studio are, excuse me, being able to print out the values, the max value of history curves, and also the deformation result with the scale factor. Right now, the export format for the presentations or for the reports is PowerPoint. PDF and HTML are not ready yet, but those will be slated for future release. Just another little quick animation with the report button. Opens up the report wizard. You can select different different things such as resolution, video format. The recorder name, and basically it's going to save it as a PowerPoint file. Have different templates that you could use as well. And then once it's in the PowerPoint format, of course, you can go in and edit what you want. If you want to look at just certain results or add notes or whatnot, you can do that right within PowerPoint. So one of the new features that's going to be in R17 as well as the support of design change. So we talked a little bit about using that deformation tool in the warpage to look at the warpage trend. They also have capability of measuring using the line tools to measure distance between 2 points and kind of look at linear shrinkage. And then, like we have in the current project, we have the shrinkage compensation capability, where you can actually put in kind of a shrinkage factor. And what we have in R17 of Studio is by changing that, then you can basically copy that run, and then you can scale the geometry. It's going to take into account that shrinkage compensation values that you have in there, remesh it, rerun the analysis, and then you're able to do a comparison of results based on that shrinkage compensation that you had put in, and to see what kind of effect that has on the overall shrinkage and warpage of the part. And part of that design change as well is you can do things like change gate locations or gate geometry as part of that design change as well. So currently in R16, for those of you that have been using Studio, if you bring in a project from the project application into Studio, right now in R16, it has to run through this converter in order to be able to load the results and start viewing them within Studio. In R17, basically gets rid of that converter and it brings the results directly in. This doesn't really apply if you're doing a project in Studio from start, but if you had a project that you had done using the designer and project applications, you'll notice a noticeable difference if you bring it into R17 than if you bring it into R16. And this is just a little bit more on that new render kernel. So it's going to save time loading those results. File size, so R17 is actually going to have a file size reduction compared to R16. And then on the memory usage, it's going to have a significant memory reduction. How much memory these projects are going to take up in R17 compared to R16, and even compared to the existing project application. There's some additional benefits. Yeah, so just kind of a quick summary. So, Studio, it's a new and improved user interface and workflow, combining both the pre-processing and the post-processing into one single platform. That render kernel, getting rid of the converter, having things like the probes and the plot history curves on demand. And then R17 is going to also support these additional specialty molding applications, in addition to the conventional injection molding that's currently available on R16. Yeah, so Studio, one platform, infinite possibilities. So we're all excited about this. It's I've had a chance to play around with it, and I like the flow of it. I like the just the streamline. Everything's in one application, nice, easy to use, and I hope you guys have a chance to use it as well. And any feedback that you guys have would be more than welcome. We're always looking to get customer feedback.